Welcome to On the Edge with Deneen Dias. Today I am thrilled to be talking to Victor Amaya. Victor, will you please introduce yourself?
Most definitely. My name is Victor Amaya. I'm a CPA by trade. Prior to joining Botkeeper about close to a year now. I can't believe it. That's right.
Has it been a year, Victor? I mean, it's been like
almost.
a year and a half for me.
10 months. 10 months.
Awesome.
I used to own an accounting firm. I started a firm back in 2009. Grew it to about 14 people. I would say a little bit more forward than majority of the firms. We were paperless probably from the onset. Remote workers, we had those back in 2012, 2013. So when COVID hit, our firm was just, business as usual. We just didn't have people come to the office, which we already had people not coming to the office, so it was great. Right. And everything, was cloud-based. So we were operating in that mode for a while. Aside from that, I belong to the AICPA PCPS committee for 3 years. I was chair of the State Society of CPAs for Colorado. I do various work with nonprofits, anywhere from, of course, the usual, right? You're the treasurer because you're the only one that knows what's going on. But it's great. It's something that I enjoy that's outside the profession is working with children, entrepreneurship. So right now, one of my nonprofits that I deal with is a charter school that works with kids who really, live in an underprivileged area and really need a much better choice of schooling. So I've been doing that for 5 years now, I believe. So
I just learned something. Yeah, that's nice, Victor. I mean, you and I have known each other for years, and I did know you because you were progressive and you're way ahead of the curve when it came to using technology, embracing technology, and sort of being that firm of the future before, the pandemic hit. So when I saw that you were joining the Botkeeper team, I was like, what? Victor's coming to Botkeeper. That's amazing. And so I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled that you're here because at a technology company that's focusing on helping firms change and shift to survive and thrive, I feel it's exciting for us to be able to really do the work that we've continuing to want to do in a new way. So, I'd love for you first to share what your role here is at Botkeeper, because I think it's a unique role and it's something great that Botkeeper does. But then after you kind of share what your role is here, if you can also share why you left the firm and came to Botkeeper. So those two things, if you can expand upon, would be great.
Yeah, great. So currently I'm the director of partner fulfillment. It's just a play on words. Really what it is I ensure that the partners are having a good experience with us and that things are working for them, right? I have a group of other, most of them are CPAs out of EY or mid-sized firms, right, that have joined our team, and they're called our growth partners. And what our growth partners are is basically to help our partners, our CPA firms, develop into becoming something better than they are today, right? And it's to be able to strategize and say, okay, today I do this. I want to be able to do something in the future, right? Whether it's 6 months out, a year, 3 years, right? We can talk through those things and say, where is it that you want to be? And our goal is to help you kind of stay lockstep on that and be able to meet that goal. Because the reality is, right, the profession is changing, the model is changing rapidly, and we need to help our firms get there and share best practices with them. Hey, here's things that we're seeing that are working, right? Here are things that we're seeing that's not going so well. We have to implement X, right, in order for us to be able to be successful. And the partners that I believe are thinking about it and are open to the idea of what I have today got me to where I am today, but I need something to get me to tomorrow, have shown more success with us for that same reason, because they're just open to the idea of what I have may not be the right thing.
Yeah, I think Just to, before you dive into kind of why you left and why you're here, to expand on that and how I always say, as I talk to our firms, the thing they talk about is their growth partner. It's having that one person to go to help them as they want to grow their practice. Having that one person that's like an extension of their team, right? And Botkeeper has a lot of, an onboarding team and a bot ops team. We have a lot of teams to help firms, but that growth partner is the one that they talk to constantly. Our firms don't see the bots doing the work, right? So it's like we say we're checking talent. The talent that our firms talk about the most are the growth partners. And so I love that you're leading that team. And if you can kind of share more about what your goals are for the growth partners going into 2022 and how they're helping firms. Touch on that before we shift gears. That'd be great.
Sure. I think majority of our goals is to be a lot more consultative with our partners and start really discussing more of the strategy of what we want to do, what their goals are, right? To really get down to the nitty gritty of what is it that you really want out of this relationship. Because to be honest, it's not about bookkeeping, right? I mean, that's just part of our offering. But the reality is everybody who's here is because they've seen this as the future, and we want to make sure that we become an integral piece to their future, to ensure that they turn around and take their human resources and repurpose them in a much better manner. And that's exactly the kind of conversations we really want to have with firms to get really down to that point, right? Of I'm vulnerable, you're vulnerable. Tell me where you feel you're lacking. Let us help you, right? And that's really what I really want to create for 2022 for our growth partners, is for us to have those really candid conversations with our partners, and for us to just be able to be there and be helpful.
That's great. Well, and I think, listen, Botkeeper's had massive growth. I mean, we have almost 300 firms. This year, we might have tripled in size. And so we've had massive growth. And when we switched in January to be fully firm focused, and we've just added so many firms and so many firms' clients, we need to listen to firms about what they want, like how we can progress and really help them and be an extension of their team by listening to them. And I think that's the other role that the growth partner plays. And so firms that really partner with the technology company and push us as much as partner with us, I think is how we all kind of evolve to grow together, to create, this new type of firm. And that's kind of why you left your firm. So if you can share, you were building that, but why did you leave? Why did you decide to switch gears with your career like this?
I had a lot of different factors that came into play on that, and I think one of the biggest ones, was that at one point I was championing for us to start a CAS practice for our firm, and this was 6 years ago, sounds about right. And the issue I have is some people are like, well, this guy is just shiny object sometimes, right? So at that point, we probably saw
the innovator. That does happen with the innovator. When you're the innovator, right? The innovator at a firm is seen with resistance a lot, but all the idea guy. But so go ahead. Yeah.
So I talked to him about it, and really what was working against me was that a few years back, I had cut off our bookkeeping piece of things because it was bookkeeping, right? It was not a CAS practice. It's a total different deal. And I was trying to explain that vision to them of this is totally different. It's us controlling the information of our customers so that we can provide much better advice and more proactive advice to them instead of everything being so reactive to us, right? And we are just reacting to the messes that get created. That's kind of where I was going towards that. And, we just didn't see eye to eye on that, at some point or another. The other thing was, for the longest time, the reason I've served at the State Society, with DEI, CPA, and various committees and things like that, was I wanted to be the voice of for the profession to progress itself. into something totally different and rethinking itself
Mm-hmm.
and doing work in a different manner,
Mm-hmm.
be more about efficiency and effectiveness overall. And to be honest, I did it for so many years that I didn't think my message was being heard in a sense. And I feel that here at Botkeeper, and thank you, I have a platform to talk about some of those things a little more freely.
Yeah.
And, and hopefully a bigger audience, right? But I get to talk to firms about, what the future looks like. And to be honest, some of it is here already. The
Yeah.
future is here
Oh, for
already. And we're
sure.
just trying to get folks to kind of embrace that mindset, right? Of, wow, how can we do things a lot different than we do now?
For sure. Yeah. I think, again, knowing you were just too ahead of the curve. Like you were too too innovative, and and truthfully, through the years, I've found a lot of yous at firms, and a lot of yous at firms have left because they're not supported. Like this outside the box or thinking differently or reinventing yourself wasn't. Um, I don't know what the word is. I think that they heard you, but it wasn't embraced.
Correct.
And we're seeing that now, though. I mean, when you see Eric Askerson at Digital Conference talking about the Great Accelerant, and you hear Barry Melanison, right, at the AICPA and at the conferences talking about firms have to reinvent themselves. They have to change. We're hearing that. We've heard that, though. And why? First of all, why do you think it's so hard for firms to reinvent themselves? I mean,
Yeah.
I have my ideas, but I'd love to hear, since you're so connected with PCPS and you talk to so many firms, what your thinking is on that.
What I would tell you, the biggest hurdle that we have is that the current model is still profitable to a sense, right?
Okay.
I would challenge the fact and the thought process of that in saying that I believe a lot of the ills that we're seeing in our profession, like our top 5, challenges, have to do with what the current model puts forth, right?
Okay.
And that's kind of what I think of, just imploding that and rethinking how we structure our firms and even how we bill, right? And I can do a whole hour about billing and how billing can change your culture overall.
Mm-hmm.
I can go a little bit into that if you want, but if you start rethinking those things, right? And that's why I love CAS, because to me, I what I've seen from firms is CAS has taken a life of its own, and you've given the
Finally.
chance for an innovator to go, okay, let's
Yeah.
try something totally different, right? And the CAS
Yeah.
practices that are successful are built in a total different manner than a tax practice or an audit practice. And I think that's where you start seeing the proof in the pudding, is that this really works. And it's a way to maybe start considering changing and carrying some of the stuff over to our other lines of services
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and just to double down on that, the firms that I've talked to within this year that are having that 25 to 35% growth that on the CAS side, right? They have leaders that are leaders like you just described. Either they hired somebody from outside the firm, so they didn't convert a tax partner over or an audit partner over, and they brought somebody in from the outside that's a business person that knows how to run a business, a profitable business, and that can push to build CAS different than the way the traditional, model has. Those are the ones that have really been successful. Or firms that have a leader that sort of has power and the managing partner is fully supportive of giving that leader permission to break everything. I don't care about the way it's always been done. That's not what we're doing here. Let's break it all. They're not married to the way it was, and the managing partner and that person in charge, hopefully it's a partner of CAS, has permission to just break it all. Those are the ones that are having the massive growth. But that's still not the majority of the firm.
correct.
It's not the norm. And so what ideas do you have for everybody else on some ways that maybe we can, do this? What should our goals be in 2022 to double down on really making this be successful, this CAS, the talk CAS, because for a second, this CAS
Just
practice.
Yeah, I mean, firms overall. I mean, one thing I would tell you is we have to change the way we look at things, right? And we think about things.
Okay.
I would always, when I had a challenge in my firm, I would always just ask myself, like, there's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be a faster, better, and much more efficient way to do this, because I just, it was painful, right? And you could see it. It was painful for not just me, but our staff, right? And it's those little things that create that angst in staff, right? And that's why they leave, because they see nothing being moved forward in a sense. So always asking myself, there's got to be a better way, and taking 10, 20 minutes to just go look for, is there a new software that does this, right?
Yeah.
Or talking to my peers of, hey, do you have something over there that does this, that, or the other, and then believe it or not, other people are looking around, and I would get a lot of great tidbits from a lot of my peers in that sense. Now, what I would tell you, that another thing that we should think about, which kind of helps that mentality a little bit, is trying to go more to a packaging of our pricing instead of doing the hourly thing. Is, can we package our product, right? Can we package our deliverables in a different manner overall with everybody, so that now the thing that we focus on is efficiency, right?
Right.
Not hours of output, but an output of something that's an outcome, right? And when we focus on the outcomes, we start looking at things a little differently and saying, okay, how do we still produce X, but can we do it in less time? Can we do it in better time, right? Can we look at technology, accelerate that for us? And now we can actually scale, because growing and scaling is two different things, right? Growing means I grew 30% of my revenue, but that means I have to hire 30% more workforce. I didn't really grow. My top line grew, and so did my expenses, right? So scaling now is talking about, can I still serve the same amount of customers, right? Or even more with the current workforce that I have, which goes back to what we're having issues right now, is our workforce is diminishing, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of it has to do with they're tired of having to play the game of the hours and the timesheets, right?
Sure.
And all this stuff. So to me, if we start thinking about our offering and how we can bundle it and how we can actually create packages for people, because everybody has different needs, right? But there's must that you must have, and start packaging in that manner, I think people will start seeing the value more of how a full relationship with an accounting firm really works. It is not just about the bits and pieces, right? I need an audit, I need some tax work. It's a full-on situation that we're really managing for a lot of companies.
Yeah, well, and that moving to that package type of model, right? And I agree with what you're saying. For years, I was trying to help firms embrace technology, and they're like, well, it's saving us time. So we don't want to save time because we charge by the hour. And so are we going to charge our clients less? But then it costs us more to buy the technology. And it was just really hard to move. And I think we're better positioned now than 10 years ago when I started helping firms do this. But it still isn't normal for a firm to be able to value bill. And so, yes, I would love for you to talk about pricing, because to me, it was the packaging and the pricing and the services and the technology. It all goes, it's all full circle. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah. So this is where I get to be controversial. Be fearless, because I feel that a lot of our peers are always worried about leaving money on the table. They don't realize that they are leaving it right now, right?
They're leaving money on the table and they don't realize it. They don't worry about it. They don't realize it.
Correct. And they're thinking, if I package this, right, and I only charge $1,000, right, and it's going to cost me $1,200 to provide it, then I'm at a loss, right? And yes, that may be the situation the first year, the second year, but I would tell you that you probably know already, if you've been in practice for more than 3 years, you already know what it takes to get something done, right? And that's your baseline, and you know that. Once you set that baseline, I will tell you that you will win about 95% of the time. Yes, there's going to be some situations where a job, takes a lot longer than you expected or what you quoted for. But to me, those were learning opportunities, right? And those were things that we used to talk as a partnership, and sitting with our partners and going, okay, we quoted X for this. The reality is that was not a good quote because it required a lot more than we thought. We got to start quoting X for this kind of work, right? And it's like, okay, going forward, we're going to start quoting X for that kind of work. So
you learn as you go.
We learn as we go, right? And
right.
You're not going to lose that much, trust me, because I know that's what in the back of the mind is, right? Is if I say it's $1,000,
Okay.
I'm stuck, right?
Right.
And what I would tell you, it's a lot easier to build. I don't have to worry about WIP. I worry about WIP later. It was later when, after tax season or whatever, I sat with my partners and we went through WIP and see what it took to get things done. I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't have to sit there and be like, oh my God, because we already had an agreed upon price with our customer, right? This is going to be $5,000 for the year. Here's the ACH form, send it to me. Every month.
Yeah. Well, and so a lot of the firms, like some of the things that I've been seeing is do an assessment, right? So you go in, you assess the client, and you really understand everything, how many transactions they have, how many GLs they have, if their talent is outdated, if their technology is outdated, like really get to do an assessment. If you do a really good assessment, you should be able to price really well the monthly services, but maybe charge differently for the cleanup work. And maybe the cleanup work is hourly. And then you're not losing your shirt on the cleanup work because you're charging by the hour for the cleanup work. And, the client never tells you how messy they are. And once you get in there and start cleaning up their books, you don't have to worry about losing your shirt if you're charging them for the hour to get that cleanup done. And don't do the ongoing monthly work until you've done the assessment and the cleanup work. And so, if you do those things in advance, then you're going to be right pretty much with your monthly cost. If not, then you can say, well, let's adjust. Now that we've been doing your cleanup work for 3 months and we're getting ready to do your monthly services, we need to charge X, Y, and Z because we uncovered ABC. Or, I think to your point, it's just get started. Don't break it. Break it. Don't be afraid to price it wrong. You'll learn pretty quickly on a new way, right? Of like starting down this path.
You'll learn when things are coming out of scope, right? And you have to have that conversation with your customers saying, hey, this is a little bit out of scope of what we initially had signed for. So obviously it's going to be an additional pricing that has to happen here, right? Again, do you know what the value of that is or whatever?
Right.
Moment, right? No, but take a stab at it, and see what happens. And I know that sounds a little flippant, but it's not, it's better than not, I would say. If you paralyze yourself with the analysis of things, you're not going to get there fast enough. The other thing that I kind of segue into is another thing that I was always championing was we have to be better about choosing our customers, right? Not our customers choosing us, but us choosing our customers. Have a criteria of what a good customer for you is and for your firm is, and it's slightly different for everybody, right?
Sure.
Is they have to hit these 5 marks in order for me to even consider them being a customer of ours, right? And stick to that as much as possible. Yes, I made some decisions to let some through because I thought there was potential to hit the other marks later on. So did I fail at some of those? Yes, but I had more successes also, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Well, and I think, Victor, going into the new year, going into tax season again, with that in mind, because I do, traditionally a lot of the accounting work was sent over from tax partners. And I think there's a really good opportunity right now, to say, hey, well, rather than us clean up your messes and charging you for that, maybe we could do ongoing monthly services for you. Instead of paying us at the end of the year this big amount, you pay us. And so what would your advice be? I mean, I think a lot of firms are dreading tax season because of they've lost talent. They know they're going to be starting to lose talent. To your point, right? There's nobody coming into the profession. Like we're at a crossroads, I think, for the profession. It's a turning point. right? And so what would your advice be for firms like going into knowing tax season is come upon us? What are some things that they can do in Q1 to change or to be successful in this new path?
Yeah, I would say first one is price increases.
There you go.
You know, that's a big one. If you haven't increased your prices in the last 2 years, you're behind already, right?
Some firms say they have to do more in order to charge more. What's your answer to that?
No. I used to have clients call me and be like, why are you charging more? And I said, well, did your admin ask you for a raise? And they're like, yes. I was like, well, so did mine, and I need to make sure that talent stays here. And I need to make sure that we have continuity for you, right, as a customer. Therefore, when our manager asks us for a raise, right, it's because she wants to be here and stay here and do better, right, for us. And if I have to change over people all the time, your work is not going to be, in a good continual situation. So I need to retain my talent in order to provide a better service for you, right? That's really the truth of it. I mean, there's no lying in that.
Right. Yeah, great. That's a great
so
one.
Raising prices is important, and even put it in your engagement letter, right? We will raise prices and be at 3 to 5%, not to exceed if you want to do that. But it's already written down and it's already part of that conversation that you have. Some of the things I ran into my peers is, some of them still were charging like 1980s prices for some stuff. And it's like, man, you haven't like done anything here. And it really is a detriment because, when they start sunsetting, right, their customers come to us who started just the firm, and the pricing difference is just astronomical, so they're not used to it. So then they decide not to use us. And I think it's to their detriment at some point or another. So, we're in public practice, so we're here to help the public, right, in a sense. So raising prices is a big one. The other part is start looking for the customer base, that you think you can do more for. One thing I used to tell the tax preparers, like, have you seen somebody who is doing well, but somehow they're just, their percentage, what's left at the bottom, right, net income, doesn't look so great, right? Those are people we can help, right? Because there's a lot of stuff we can do with those folks because they're already successful, right? And now they just need a little guidance to get them, in a better place overall. We have the ability to do those things for our customers. You'd be very surprised of the very small and basic information they need in order to make their situation a lot better. I had a company where all they needed was somebody to go chase the AR so that their cash flow would improve. They were doing the business, right? They were not collecting their money, so it was working. It's just that one piece was not it. And I found out the owner was just like, I don't like making those phone calls. I was like, well, we're going to hire somebody that does, right? And that person pay for themselves over and over again because they did not care. They were just on the phone and be like, hey, you owe us 10 grand. So when are you going to pay us?
Good. That's great. So, yeah.
That one little change, right? And you think, and you sit there and like, so you don't need rocket science here. It's just helping them understand what is it, the little tweaks that they need to do in their business for it to be more successful. And you'd be very surprised.
So you've got 1 minute left. Do you have a third one? Because you gave 2 great tips. So what's your third one? The power of 3. Let's finish off with the third Victor idea.
It kind of tails into that, right? So the other part is, how do we reduce work, right? So how do I get rid of low value work and replace it with high value work, right? In my firm, we started with 1,100 returns, 1,100 probably equated to about 600 customers. And we pared that down to about 700 returns, about 300 customers. Our revenue was actually up 10% from when we started, right? Wow. But that was the thing. It's like, here's 5 returns that there's no prospect of us doing any better with them, right? Because they don't want what we're trying to offer.
Right.
Boom, right? There's 5 grand that goes out the door. How do I turn around and get 5 grand somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Where's the high prospect client that I can look and see and be like, hey, we can do a lot more with these people here, right?
Upgrade them. Yeah.
Boom, I make up my difference, right? And what I was
Brilliant.
doing is what that did for our staff was less work, same amount of money, right? And
Brilliant.
it started getting better and better. And then our staff didn't have to work 70, 80-hour weeks during tax season. We had 50, 55-hour weeks, you know,
Wow.
and everybody was not burnt out, you know,
Right.
because after April, everybody's just out. We didn't have that kind of situation in our firm because people were not burning themselves out working
Right.
during tax season, trying to, you know, put 1,100 returns out. We started kind of minimizing that and adding more value to our customers that we thought had a lot more potential overall.
I love it. Those are great tips. Thank you so much. That was the fastest 30 minutes ever. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you, and I appreciate it again. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.